Hello. I've often wondered where people are coming from and where on earth are they going to? Well, on this podcast, I'm going to find out the answers to those questions and more. And as my guests come to you over the miracle of the internet, whether they be hundreds or thousands of miles away, you may experience some snap, crackle, and pop. So, wherever you are, it's time to activate the senses as we bring you the words as they come across the world, as we bring you the Nifty Travel Podcast.
Depends on your background, I suppose, but I like to I like to speak to the real people, the workers, the people who are behind the scenes and go, how does it really work here? And then what do I need to do to avoid the sort of tourist trap bit and get under the skin of the place and into the real culture? Certainly music, clubbing, DJing, going to sort of the more kind of electronic music events that I would go to allows you to sort of access people that are more in the subculture, and that gives you a completely different insight into somewhere. It's, you got to know the local and get to know the locals, haven't you? And really kind of go, all right, well, the tourists are over there doing that. What do we do? What do people really do around here? So that's probably where I get more excited.
Definitely agree to that. Although it should be very intense as well. Very, very crowded, very poor country, and I heard a lot of different experiences, but I think it's worth to see and to experience, and it's definitely on the top of my bucket list for sure.
So is it safe to say that London has a special place for you, or is it one of many?
I'd say it's probably one of many. Because I live in London, I tend to overlook it a bit, and which I think is a shame to a certain extent. Although, of course, generally speaking, I'm trying to encourage people to go abroad, because although I do a little bit of UK selling, I didn't do a great deal. So yes, London is an extraordinary city. There is so much happening, so much to see and do. I was talking about Brick Lane, which has foods from pretty much all over the world. So do you even need to travel? You just need to go to London, and you have everything laid out for you.
So in Florida, where do you vacation if you're in Florida? So a lot of people might go to the mountains for that, but also just being in the Southeast region, we might go to the Caribbean as a long weekend getaway, right? So you might fly to Jamaica or Bahamas just for 2 days, 3 days. Whereas if you're leaving to go on a further distance, it's usually for a longer period of time. So you get to this point where even going to anywhere in the Caribbean, any of the islands in the Caribbean, is not even really a big deal. You don't get a chance to show off on your social media that we're in the Bahamas. People kind of roll their eyes to that. If you live in this region, it's a beautiful place, obviously, and great to go and visit. But when you say that you went to Paris, went to the UK, went to Sweden, there's a little bit of that envy you're trying to create in all your friends that follow you on social media. So I think there's some bragging rights to leaving the country that people like to explore.
Are they like very old school? It really depends. In some areas they are, and of course this also can have an appeal to travelers, and definitely does, right? But In others, I would say they're much more progressive than most people would imagine, right? So it's the perspective is very different on that. Yeah, that's true. It of course varies from person to person. There is this traditional aspect of the culture which they really protect, and this is of course culturally what people might be interested in, but and so that definitely is an appeal. I would say it's not everything, but it's part of it.
Would you want to come and stay with us for a month? So we've ended up doing 2 weeks of Mamans Point. We did a couple of weeks in Manly. We're doing a couple of weeks in Bondi. This is where I am now. And then we're doing a couple of weeks in Coogee before we go back to kind of Manly area for a month. And yeah, Australia for us, the biggest thing, we can see why so many people decide to live here, because it's literally just a better version of England, in my opinion. It's warmer. People are so friendly out here. The only thing we miss is friends and family back home, really. Everything else, if we could pick them up and move them out here, I don't think we'd come back.
So there you have it. Please do like and subscribe now to see the full recordings now. Enjoy.